So I just got back from Hope Mills Medical Home, and it's basically a Department of Defense family medicine type clinic. It's actually, believe it or not, the best one of the kind of clinics I've been to through the years. Certainly better than Veterans Health Administration, which is, of course, the lowest of the low bar, because I'm pretty convinced Veterans Health Administration will just torture me to death after having directly experienced those people and worked at that organization. So there was a HIPAA violation, though, today at Hope Mills Medical Home, in my opinion. This is routine in the government, and I will tell you, to Hope Mills Medical Home's credit, they rectified the situation immediately. The manager, the person did, and was really professional, which is more than I can say for most of the people I've dealt with in the freaking government. There was a refusal from the front desk person to place a medical letter from a different healthcare provider in my medical record per my request, and instead I was beginning to be lectured and cited all these stupid rules that were just made up by God only knows who in a position of power tripping power to basically make life harder on patients and not honor medical record related requests, which is basically, it's for continuity of healthcare, to make sure, because in healthcare system in America is super broken. It's just a fact. And when in continuity of healthcare, so the healthcare providers would have the same access to the same information over this simple thing, and my healthcare could just be streamlined and quick and no problems, okay? So no healthcare provider would be confused. Instead, the person decided to make it difficult because they clearly felt that whatever they'd been told led them to believe that that's the way it should be. And I'm sure that's what they were told by someone in position of power, no doubt. But the problem is, another medical home in North Carolina, it's basically the same kind of thing as Hope Mills, from Department of Defense, same kind of family medicine thing. And they also violated HIPAA, I know as a fact, when they refused to provide me with access to information pertaining to my medical record and try to give me the runaround. And the same kind of thing of just trying to make you jump through hoops that are not legally required, but they will try to make you jump through because the power tripping of it all. They think that they can just do whatever they want because they're in the government. This happens a lot. And even sometimes civilian non-government clinics will try to do the same thing, but they will typically get in line a lot faster because the government actually is really big on enforcing rules on non-governmental entities, but don't want to follow their own rules. This has been my direct experience throughout my entire adult lifetime at this point. I went and filed a HIPAA complaint regarding the Hope Mills Medical Home incident today because I wanted to basically have it on the record, right? What's probably going to happen, this is what happens every single time I've done this with the government, is they will say, technical assistance, Office of Civil Rights, technical assistance was provided to XYZ organization. So this is Hope Mills Medical Home, right? It's government. And they do that every time in the government, I've noticed. And the reason they do that is because the government, in my direct experience, does not want to enforce its own rules that would actually benefit patients or, in other cases, maybe service members. All right. And I'm sure it's exactly what will happen. And when they say provided technical assistance, it just means they threw the complaint in the garbage can, essentially, and did nothing with it to pursue it. Because why do they care, right? They only want to go after small businesses, it seems like, in the civilian sector and bankrupt them and put them out of business. Or if they get a cybersecurity attack, put them underneath so much bureaucracy and fines that they bankrupt these poor, small clinics. And they're out of business, and that's it. End of story. Doesn't help the community, but somehow helps the government line their pockets even further. Then Womack Medical Center, it was within the last, last few years, they were just violating HIPAA right away, not giving me access to my medical records because I needed them. Took 6 months to get my medical records. Only after I filed a HIPAA complaint, same thing. Oh, we provided technical assistance. I magically got my medical records. But again, there were no consequences at all. And I doubt there was any change behavior. Why would there be? There's never any accountability. So there's this thing called ICE, Interactive Customer Evaluation, I think is what it's called. And basically, it goes into this like little complaint system. It can also be a compliment as well. It can be whatever a person puts in there. But basically, it goes into the complaint system and it just cycles around. They have these things called patient advocates. They have them in Veterans Health Administration. They're useless there too. I've noticed in like corporate hospitals, it seems like they have a similar system. And basically, all it does is, my experience, it just cycles around basically your complaint in a circle and basically goes nowhere and serves no purpose and does nothing. It just nothing. And that's if a person could even get a hold of the patient advocate. I use that word super loosely. And you have like they're going to be field grade officers that are in charge of these military hospitals, specifically like Womack Army Medical Center. That, in my opinion, they're so inundated with bureaucracy and problems and issues that they don't even have. I mean, they must be ripping out what hair they have left over there, because at the end of the day, a lot of these problems are created by our bad representatives in Congress and in DC and perpetuated, and then everybody else just gets to deal with the consequences of dysfunctional bureaucracy, basically, which I talk a lot about in my videos here on @Woman Military Veteran, okay? Whether it be a YouTube or TikTok or wherever. And so it's a pointless thing. But the fact that the government thinks that they can just, and oftentimes does, whether it be Merit System Protection Board, Office of Special Counsel, Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, Veterans Health Administration, Department of Defense, or whatever bureaucratic government organization I'm dealing with, thinks and oftentimes does do whatever they want without any consequences, is immune from any kind of accountability, is a serious freaking issue to me. Not to mention the ongoing retaliation. The only reason I'm on here right now talking about this is because of the fact that, like, I follow the rules of our government. I've done all the things, and I see these problems persisting because the powers to be don't care to correct the issues. And I remember when I was in the military, there's rights in general didn't exist in my direct experience. I got out it was 2012 is when I got out. Don't regret it, really glad I did. And, I remember, being half naked in a doctor's appointment, and literally a group of military students being pretty much open the door, but like I'm like some kind of lab experiment without my consent. And I remember saying, no, I don't want that. And then like if the door would close and the group would go away. But it's like, at what point is that even a human? Like, it's a human right, is a violation of privacy. Not to mention super illegal, not having your patient provide informed consent to something like that. And it was like a routine violation of privacy and of rights, basically related to medical. And it was chronic. I experienced when I was in the Department of Defense in the military, and it wasn't okay. And I see the same kind of attitude to this very day to some extent, but most of it pertains to medical records, medical privacy. I was at Womack Army Medical Center in the last number of weeks or couple months. I had an ultrasound ordered, and I was never provided informed consent about this student thing they had, where they had a student doing the ultrasound. I didn't provide informed consent to that. I even complained about it afterwards through those stupid little ICE system. Nobody got back to me, and honestly, I don't care. They're so inundated with complaints over there as it is, because their system's so dysfunctional on a lot of levels. And it was just like, again, and then they also botched, I found out, the ultrasound, which led to unnecessary medical conclusions from it, aka medical malpractice. And it's just like, there's, from what I could tell, nothing being done to really address those kinds of issues. And it's throughout the government. Veterans Health Administration is much worse, okay, than the Department of Defense when it comes to the healthcare thing, in my direct experience. But it's just this brazen kind of lawless attitude inside the government, especially in my experience with medical, or just with rights in general, of we're going to make up our own rules, we're going to do whatever we want, and whoever the end user is, whether it be a patient or a service member, you're going to just have to deal with the consequences, or maybe a civilian person, depending on what agency you're dealing with. And I'm just really over it. I'm really over it. And it's just like, it appears that the only way to get any kind of potential change is to really just air it out and let the truth be known that, like, this is just the reality of the situation. Again, at Hope Mills Medical Home, the manager did correct the issue right away, was super professional, and my medical information will be communicated between the providers as needed to coordinate healthcare. But it's just like, nothing should be this complicated. And I constantly see these problems inside the government, and it shouldn't be this way.